Give it up for Grace and all the people that put this together today. Everybody say thank you. Say thank you. Say thank you. When I say his name, say George Floyd. Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Repeat after me. Black lives, they matter here.
Black lives, they matter.
I said black lives, they matter here.
Black lives, they matter here.
I'm so happy that Grace and everybody asked me to speak today and that you all are here today. And the first thing I want to point out is I want you to look around you. Look at the people next to you. Look at everybody around you. And now I want you to think about all the people that aren't here. I want you to think about why they're not here. And for some of you, this may be your first time coming to a rally. Raise your fist up if this is your first time coming to a rally or a protest. I see you. I see you. And we commend you. Give it up. Give it up. I want to tell you that as a person of color, raised in the Minneapolis public school system, this is not a rally for me. This is not a protest for me. This is not a Black History Month for us. This is not another black body eliminated by white supremacy for us. This is our life.
Yeah.
I've worked as a paraprofessional in public schools across the state. And it starts early. It starts the second black people walk into the classroom. They try to give you permission to feel. They rescind your permission to feel. They try to tell you your story. They rescind the permission to tell your own story. You can give it up for that. I am tired of walking into special education rooms, resource rooms, and seeing black boys in there being told that they have an emotional behavior disorder or that they have an oppositional disorder just because they disagree with their teacher. Yeah. It is not a disorder. It is absolutely racist. You are in a state that has some of the worst racial disparity in the country, in law enforcement, in education, and in employment. And you don't see it because you don't have to. You have to ask yourself the question, and I'm speaking directly to white people right now because I know a lot of the brown and black bodies in here are very tired and fatigued of getting talked to. So I'm speaking directly to white people right now. I need you to ask yourself, have you not had the conversation because you don't want to or because you don't have to? And that's not a condemnation. That's not an indictment. That's a simple question. We're starting at base level here. As Grace said, this protest is baseline. This is baseline. I have been pulled over walking. I have been pulled over jogging. I have been pulled over biking. They were looking for somebody with the blue bike. I had a purple bike. This trauma goes deep. And now I'm speaking to the young people of color in the crowd. Your story is not told by the history books that they have handed you. Your story is not told by your white teachers. Your story is not told by anybody above you. Your story is told by you. Stillwater is a beautiful place. However, as a person of color walking through here, it's a dangerous place. Yeah. Your entire city council is made up of white men. Your diversity and integration counselor is a white male. Your mayor is a white male that said that this is a moot point. I'll say that again. Your mayor is a white male that said this is a moot point. I had a white man over there ask me, say, did you just say that about Ted? Yeah, I did, because he said it. And I'm calling it out. Again, it's baseline. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with being a white male. It's just to say that there have been special privileges, powers, and rank afforded to a certain demographic in your city. You have voted these people in. You have agency. You have power. Look around you right now. You have a community here that is willing to band together to say something. And again, that's baseline. I was born in New Orleans, where they wave Confederate flags in the air. And people will tell you that they are outright racists, and that you can't be in their house, that you can't be on their porch, and that they can't be seen with you. And I appreciate that, because at least I can have the conversation with them. The most staunch, dangerous, invasive racism I've ever seen and experienced in my life is here in Minnesota, because the Confederate flag is in the pocket and they will not talk about it. And if you're white and you're feeling uncomfortable right now, good. Because this is a moment and you're gonna go home and it'll pass. But I'm gonna go home and this is gonna be my life. When you see a conflict of interest in reporting with Liz Collin at WCCO married to Bob Kroll, that's obvious. We get it. It's very obvious. And they're letting you know something because they don't care if you know. It's a Confederate flag waving in the air. They don't care if you see their racism. But what I want to speak to is I want to speak to the silence. When you look at PBS, when you look at Twin Cities Public Television, when you look at all the outlets that have said nothing, what does that mean to you? When I'm sitting in a room full of black boys that have been told they have an oppositional disorder, and they get piled into one room, and all they want to do is be heard. All they want to do is be seen. All they want to do is be acknowledged. The worst thing that you can do is silence them. The worst thing that you can do is say nothing. The worst thing that you can do is turn the other cheek. The worst thing that you can do is say, well, I support law enforcement, or all lives matter. The worst thing that you can do is put up an argument or say, hey, I'm playing devil's advocate, because for this is our lives. Black bodies are being eliminated. Black bodies are being silenced. Black bodies are being turned off. Black bodies are being turned away from. Now is the time to start paying attention. Now is the time to start listening to black people, and now is the time to start believing black people. I understand that if you have a support law enforcement sign, that tells me you haven't experienced what I've experienced. That tells me you haven't been pulled over, thrown in the back of a squad car for no reason, patted down. They reach everywhere in your body, and then they lock you up in the back seat. It tells me that you haven't experienced driving in your own car, being followed by an officer, and feeling that anything could happen. Anything could happen. You haven't experienced white people calling the cops on you for just walking through the park. You have to understand that when the cops are called on black bodies, it is always a life or death situation. Always. I want to round out with this, and I want to say to you, the white people in the audience, this is not a day. This is not stopping here. George Floyd didn't happen in a vacuum. This is for Jamar Clark. This is for Thurman Blevins. This is for Marcus Golden. This is for Breonna Taylor. This is for the continual black bodies that people have been working for to make some justice for them, and nobody has been held accountable. The one police officer that's been held accountable in Minneapolis is a black one for shooting a white body. Ask yourself, what does that mean to you? Ask yourself, what does that mean to you? There is a modern day lynching that occurred on 38th in Chicago, right where I used to walk around, bike around, and hang out as a kid, and nobody is talking about it. But now they are. So don't make this a moment. Don't make this a day. Don't make this a conversation that's gonna be a little uncomfortable for Thanksgiving. Make this your life. And the last thing I'll say in working in all these protests, the one thing that you will see all the time. I had to lose my job for this. I had to walk away from Twin Cities Public Television because they said nothing. and I can't respect myself and be in a room with a white media outlet that says nothing. But what I haven't lost is I haven't lost a son. I haven't lost a brother. I haven't lost a father to police brutality. But I've experienced the trauma. And what you'll see at all these rallies and protests is you will see black women standing for their sons that have been murdered, for their cousins that have been murdered, for their nephews that have been murdered, for their fathers that have been murdered. And they have to sit there and have the police tell them a different story. Not only will they lie to you after they take the lives of your children, they will retell the story afterwards. But we will not let them retell our stories anymore. I'm gonna hand it over to Grace. We're gonna lead the march over to the bridge. One last time. Say his name.
George Floyd.
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 Thank you for the time.